welcome back to Let's Make Lemonade, where we who deal with infertility are making lemonade out of the many lemons that we receive in infertility. My name is Selena. If you are new here, my husband and I are dealing with infertility. Mostly me, actually pretty much all me. And we've already done one frozen embryo transfer, and we are now on our way to our second transfer. And before we go to the second transfer, we decided to do an ERA test. So that's what this video is about. I've had this done, and I want to talk to you about what my experience was and what the heck this test is all about. ERA test. So that stands for endometrial receptivity array or analysis. So it really just depends on when you Google it, both of those terms pop up. You can find all of the information that I am talking to you in this video from egenomics.com, and then that'll take you to the US or wherever you are in the world. The way this test works is by taking a piece of your endometrium, and your endometrium is your tissue lining of the interior of your uterus. That's where your embryo implants. This test reveals how receptive your lining is to an embryo that is to implant. And so the idea is that every woman has what's called a window of implantation. And the period that your lining is receptive is only a short amount of time in your cycle. And what this looks like usually, I'm not going to use the word normal, but usually it's going to be an estimated period from 19 to 21 days in your cycle. So, you'll say your first day of your period is cycle day 1. By cycle day 19, 20, 21, those are going to be usually the standard for when a woman's endometrium lining or endometrial lining is receptive. However, there are 25% of women who don't fall into this usual, statistic. And so this is called displaced window of implantation. 25% of women have this displaced window of implantation. In other words, 3 out of 10 patients have a displaced window of implantation. So that means they don't fall into this 19 to 21 cycle day period. So this test is to reveal when that is for a woman. The results of this test are going to either tell you if your lining is pre-receptive, receptive, or post-receptive. And basically it's going to tell you, okay, well, you need an X amount of less progesterone or more progesterone, and it's going to give it to you to the T, like exactly how many hours that your lining needs for an embryo to implant. Is that not amazing? I had the thinking of, so I either need this to be pre-receptive or post-receptive, because if it comes back receptive, then that means there's nothing wrong with me and I did this test for nothing. However, some lovely girl told me that's not the case. For her, she got it done. Her results said that she was receptive, and that it said that she needed to do her progesterone shots in the morning. Basically, they figured out by looking at the hours rather than at night. So it's super typical for us women who go through this to do it at night. I think that's like the standard of what a lot of the offices say. So this girl started doing it at a certain amount of time every day in the morning. I think it was like 8 a.m. and it worked. So to me, I would feel like doing this test was so worth it. Okay, so I had to change scenery because after doing that video, I moved my lights and all that stuff. And so I realized there were a couple of things that I forgot to tell you. So what I didn't mention was that technically the biopsy, you have to do it twice. Technically, you do it once, and then a couple of days later, you do it again. And the reason for that is because sometimes women, it doesn't give enough information from what I understand, and so they fall into the post-receptive category, and so the need for that second biopsy is needed. However, my doctor, I'm not really sure why this is, but my doctor doesn't really do it unless there's a reason for it, because I think most women fall into the pre-receptive and the receptive category, and so I'm really hoping that I don't fall into the post-receptive category, because if so, then that means I'm gonna have to go back and do it again and and do it for another month. And that honestly is gonna piss me off. And so that better not be the case. All right, so you might ask, okay, so do I need this test or should I get this test? Would this be something that could help me in the process? From the information that I have gathered, that this test benefits those who have implantation failure, like I do. I have never been pregnant. Nothing has, as far as we know, nothing has ever implanted. And when we did our first embryo transfer, the results came back as my HCG, my beta blood test, came back as less than 1. So we know that nothing implanted, especially with those who have higher quality embryos. So like with us, our embryo we know was pre-genetically tested and it still didn't work. I am so thankful that my doctor's not going to make me wait to go through all the embryos and possibly they all fail to be able to do this test. I have heard of women having to do cycles, multiple cycles and multiple transfers before their doctor even goes to this test. This is a relatively new test, and so I think there's somewhat a little bit of like uncertainty about the test with doctors, but my doctor's pretty young but has been doing this for a long time, and he is all about like the new technology and whatever will help. And we have been on this road of infertility for 10 years now. And so, you know, if you watched our last video of the call of when we found out our first transfer didn't work, he said, all right, well, you know, I'm not going to make you wait. And I was very, very thankful for that. The information that I gathered says that once you get this test done, it increases the pregnancy rates up to 73%, which I think is pretty awesome. You get your embryos pre-genetically tested, as well as do the ERA test, and that's going to increase your chances. Of course, nothing is guaranteed and no test is perfect. So keep that in mind. What does it look like? So you will take a full month, 1 cycle to do this whole test, okay? Because it has to be able to see like how your body responds to the exact protocol of what you would do for a frozen embryo transfer. And so like my doctor did, you know, on day I think 3 or something like that of the period, you start the estrogen and then you double it up and then you triple it up. And then once it gets closer to that time of your transfer, instead of transferring an embryo, you actually do the biopsy instead. You do the progesterone shots like you normally would before you go in to do your transfer. And so that day of the biopsy, I drank water just like you're supposed to do when you do the transfer. I was told to take 600 to 800 milligrams of ibuprofen, which I went ahead and just took 800 just to be sure. I have done a biopsy before for the Receptiva DX, which is another test, and that test was for checking for endometriosis, which by the way, I should do a video on that because that was really cool. I was very familiar with the pain was gonna be like, and so I knew it was gonna be painful. And if you have talked to anyone who's done this, I haven't met anyone who has said, oh yeah, it was a breeze. I've heard women say, oh my gosh, it was the worst thing I have ever experienced. Some women have fainted. Some women have screamed and cried. This is what I did. I was laying on the table and it was at that point where you had to cut it and I was like, done. That was me. I handle things differently. But I say that to you as like, hey, anything is possible. Just because one woman said, oh my gosh, it was the worst thing ever, it might not be like that for you. And if it brings any reassurance, that pain that you feel is quick. It goes away. Like you'll feel a little bit of cramping and then he snips off the lining, which yeah, I mean, just the thought of that, right? It just hurts. But it lasted, honestly, 2 seconds. For me, it lasted for 2 seconds. Now, I don't know if it depends on your doctor's technique. I don't know if it's better if your doctor is just better at it. I don't know, but I just want to say that, hey, there is hope and it doesn't have to be the worst thing for you, and I hope it's not. So I went in, drank the amount of water that I needed. All right, so afterwards, I mean, my doctor said that after the procedure, you can feel crampy. I didn't feel crampy. It was probably because of all of the ibuprofen I took, the 800 milligrams of ibuprofen that I took. And you know what? I didn't feel anything that day. And I was like, okay, fine. It's not a big, I mean, like I didn't feel any different. But the following day, and it was the afternoon, it wasn't even the morning, so I thought that was kind of weird. I started feeling crampy, and it wasn't overwhelming. It wasn't like crazy. It was just a little mild cramping. So just don't be worried if you get that. Spotting is totally normal, which I got just a tiny bit. You did get a piece of your lining cut off from inside of you, so that is totally normal. So what now? Okay, well, my office, I am in Nashville, Tennessee, and wherever they have to send it, I think it's like Miami, or I'm not exactly sure. So it depends on where you are in the world and which lab that your office will send it to. My nurse said, hey, the last person who did an ERA test here, it took 11 days to get back. And so we are just assuming that that's gonna be somewhat of the case for me. So now we just wait. So I went ahead and discontinued the estrogen. I discontinued the progesterone shots. However, I was put on Prometrium capsules, and I have to stay on progesterone because what happens when you get off of progesterone, right? Well, your body's going to immediately start to try to shed that lining, and we're not ready for that yet, because if we want to transfer in July, which is the goal, then we have to keep my cycle going because we have to wait for the results. So once the results come into the office, they'll give me a call and they'll say, okay, girl, get off of the Prometrium, and then we'll wait for my cycle to start, and then we'll go ahead and start with a freaking frozen embryo transfer, which I can't believe we're already here, and it's just gone by fast. And the trick is try not to think about it so much. If you are, and you were doing this, oh my gosh, I think for me, it just helps to keep your mind not idle. It helps to work, or whatever it is, go out of town, or whatever it is that you are able to do. Go on for more walks, hang out with your girlfriends, whatever it works, just to get your mind off of all of this that you are not in control of. Let's talk money. So to get it done, it costs $795 for the first biopsy. If your doctor chooses, which is honestly, he's following, or he or she is following the rules because that's what they're supposed to do. The second biopsy, I think, is like $250, let's say. It's around that. Go to the website, I think it says it all. And so you have to pay that second amount only if you get the second biopsy done. So for me, we had to pay the $795 plus $75 for the shipping, whatever shipping they chose to do. And then that was it. Also, for more information, go to igenomics.com and get more of that information. And hey, if you think you need this, or if you want to chat with your doctor about it, do so. And hopefully your doctor is, welcoming to it, because from what I understand, there's some doctors who they just don't respect it yet, maybe, or they just don't offer it. And so hopefully you have a place where you can feel heard, that you are heard, and that you have this option. So definitely ask your doctor if you have implantation failure and you think that this could be something that could certainly help you. So that's all I got for you now. I am waiting for the results. You will know as soon as I find out. And if you're not walking this journey with me on Instagram, if you want to know, I update there sooner. Catch me there if you're curious and you're on this journey. If you have done this, oh my gosh, please tell me. I love the success stories I hear all the time. Tell me in the comments below if you have gone through this. I need to hear your stories. Give this video a thumbs up. That's it for now. Until next video, see you then.